It is 3 a.m. Have you ever found yourself lying awake at this exact moment, scrolling through social media, watching friends post about their promotions, buying houses, getting married, only to check your bank account and feel like you are struggling, falling hopelessly behind, despite working yourself to the point of total exhaustion? That feeling is suffocating. But let's pause for a second and ask yourself, why is it that a generation raised from childhood with the unwavering belief that you are deeply special, the most highly educated generation, the one hustling day and night on endless projects, has somehow become the first generation in modern history to be poorer than their parents, constantly haunted by the urge to just give up? The truth is, you are not lazy. You are not inadequate. That exhausting burnout gnawing at you every single night hides a profound psychological truth. It stems from a massive, societal, psychological experiment that absolutely none of us volunteered to be part of. Before you roll your eyes or dismiss this, let us address the elephant in the room. We have all heard the harsh lectures from the older generations. They call us the strawberry generation, beautiful on the outside, but fragile, easily bruised, and entirely lacking in willpower. Society labels us as entitled complainers who would rather throw our hard-earned money away on overpriced iced coffees and instant gratification instead of pulling ourselves up by our bootstraps and saving for a house. But here is where that lazy narrative completely falls apart. The math simply does not add up, and science proves it. In 2020, the Pew Research Center confirmed a terrifying economic paradox. We are officially the first demographic in modern history to be aggressively pushed backward to the financial starting line. We are structurally worse off than the generation before us. The psychological toll of this reality is devastating. Psychologist Dr. Twenge, the author of Generation Me, uncovered what she calls a highly toxic psychological cocktail. Her research shows that millennials actually score the highest on narcissism scales. We entered adulthood armed with sky-high self-esteem and the absolute illusion of our own special power. Yet, paradoxically, we also hit absolute record-breaking peaks for severe anxiety and depression. What you are feeling right now has a clinical name. It is cognitive dissonance, playing out on a massive generational scale. It is the bloody, exhausting collision between the grand expectations we were promised as children and the brutal economic reality we actually inherited. Let us bring this down to reality. Meet Min. Min is 30 years old, and on paper, he is doing everything exactly right. By day, he is the ultimate modern worker. He has the university degrees, the impressive professional profile, and he is fully submerged in hustle culture. He takes on the extra projects, replies to work emails at 9 at night, and constantly upgrades his skills just to stay relevant. But by night, the glossy filter fades. Min comes home to a cramped, overpriced rented apartment. He sits in the dark, doing the mental math of rising rent and grocery bills, watching inflation quietly devour his hard-earned savings. Despite running at full speed all day, Min feels a crushing weight in his chest. He feels like his actual life has been put on an indefinite pause. Why does a hard-working person like Min feel like such a failure? Part of the answer lies in a unique technological whiplash. Unlike Generation Z, who were practically born holding smartphones, millennials were thrown into the social media meat grinder right during our most vulnerable developmental stage. We gained access to these platforms in our late teens and early 20s, exactly when our core psychological identities were still forming. We had to figure out how to become adults while simultaneously learning how to perform adulthood for a massive digital audience. The psychological toll of this is staggering. Dr. Tim Kasser, a psychologist who studies materialism and well-being, highlights how destructive this shift has been. We were essentially forced to run a 24/7 public relations campaign for our own lives. When your brain is trained to measure its fundamental worth through external validation, comparing your messy reality to everyone else's carefully curated highlight reel, your mental health inevitably collapses. The polls never close, and you always feel like you are losing. And then there is the agonizing wait. Min deeply desires the traditional markers of growing up. He wants to own a small home, perhaps get married, and build a secure family. A few decades ago, these were just the standard steps of a regular life. Today, staggering economic barriers have transformed these basic human milestones into unattainable luxury goods. Because of this, men is trapped in a psychological waiting room. Science has a name for the physical damage this prolonged waiting causes. It is called allostatic load. It is the chronic, grinding physiological wear and tear on your body from being in a perpetual state of stress and uncertainty. Your nervous system is constantly preparing for a stable, secure chapter that just never seems to begin. You are trapped, staring at the loading screen of your own existence, watching a progress bar that has not moved a single inch in a decade. To make matters worse, society looks at people like men and heavily criticizes them for their behavior at work. We get completely roasted for being job hoppers, labeled as entitled employees with zero company loyalty. But let us completely debunk this corporate myth. Millennials did not kill workplace loyalty. We are simply reacting to its absence. This is not a betrayal. It is a highly rational survival adaptation. We graduated into an employment landscape that had already secretly rewritten the rules. Secure, long-term positions were replaced by unstable gig work and short-term contracts. Treating employees as easily disposable numbers on a spreadsheet became a normalized business strategy. When an entire generation is thrown into a system that treats them as highly temporary, easily replaceable tools, refusing to blindly pledge your loyalty to a corporation is not a character flaw. It is a necessary evolutionary response to an environment that has already abandoned you. To understand why this feels so deeply paralyzing, we have to look closely at the internal wiring of our minds. The root cause is a brutal psychological combination of schema disruption and a phenomenon that psychologist Martin Seligman famously called learned helplessness. We were raised on a very specific, absolute promise: effort equals success. We were told that if you just study hard and follow the rules, the system will reward you. But what happens when you graduate into a historic recession, survive a global pandemic, and then face crippling inflation? That fundamental formula shatters. You are constantly throwing your absolute best efforts against massive, uncontrollable economic walls. Over time, when your actions repeatedly fail to change your reality, your brain does something tragic. It learns to give up. It actively shuts down your motivation just to conserve energy. Think of it like this. Imagine spending the first 18 years of your life meticulously memorizing the rules of chess. You study every strategy, every opening move. You are completely prepared. But the moment you finally sit down at the adult table, ready to play your first match, the dealer looks at you and says, "Sorry, we are playing poker now." Every single strategy you learned is suddenly useless. That is the exact shock our generation experienced. Your brain does not just ignore this shock. It registers it as a direct threat. When your daily reality constantly violates your core beliefs, your amygdala, the fear and processing center of your brain, goes into a permanent state of high alert. This perfectly explains the trademark millennial cynicism, our dark humor, our endless sarcasm, and our deep skepticism of corporate and political institutions are not signs of a bad attitude. They are biological defense mechanisms. Your brain is actively refusing to put its trust in a broken system, simply to protect you from being profoundly hurt and let down yet again. However, we must be incredibly careful here. Understanding the rigged game we are playing is meant to set you free from carrying the crushing weight of self-blame. It is not an invitation to romanticize our exhaustion or surrender to toxic pessimism. Recognizing the deep flaws in the system should never become an excuse to permanently adopt a victim mentality, where we just endlessly complain and stop trying to build a meaningful life. Instead of focusing only on the struggle, look at what this generation has actually achieved. Millennials are the bravest emotional shock absorbers in modern history. We are the pioneers who actively decided to break the generational curse of silence. We are the first generation to completely shatter the stigma surrounding mental health. We are the ones who openly go to therapy and bravely call our pain by its real name, rather than burying it under a forced smile like the generations before us. That takes immense, undeniable strength. So, if you find yourself lying awake again tonight, feeling the crushing weight of everything you have not yet achieved, I want you to remember this one undeniable truth. Your anxiety is not a personal failure. It is not a glitch, and it is certainly not a bug in your internal system. It is a highly functioning feature, reacting exactly as it should to a wildly unpredictable and volatile environment. The harsh reality is that the old map to success, the one the previous generation confidently shoved into your hands when you were a child, has completely expired. It no longer matches the brutal, shifting terrain of the world adulthood actually looks like for you. If these words resonate with those quiet 3 a.m. thoughts, please leave a like below. It is a small but powerful way to say, I am here, and I understand. Do not forget to subscribe so we can keep exploring the depths of our minds together. And if you know someone who is still struggling, constantly blaming themselves in the dark, please share this video with them. Let them know they are not broken, and they are definitely not alone.